Dr. Kim Hyun-woo wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform as he stood before the massive circular chamber. The Galactic Species Council meeting hall was enormous. It could hold thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Today it was packed full. Hyun-woo had never seen so many different alien species in one place. The Vorthak delegates towered above everyone else. They were 12 feet tall with bodies made of what looked like living crystal. Their skin sparkled under the bright lights. When they moved, it sounded like wind chimes. The Kalari representatives sat coiled in special chairs designed for their snake-like bodies. They were 20 feet long from head to tail. Their scales changed color when they were excited or angry. Right now, most of them showed patterns of bright yellow and red. Hyun-woo had studied enough about Quilari culture to know those colors meant they were amused. The Brelton delegation made the most noise. They were built like walking tanks. Their natural armor was thicker than most spaceship hulls. Every time they moved, their metal-like skin clanked and scraped. Their eyes glowed red behind face masks that helped them breathe in the oxygen-rich atmosphere that most species preferred. There were dozens of other alien races in the chamber. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others hung from the ceiling on special perches. A few were so small that Hyun-woo could barely see them even with his enhanced vision display. All of them were here to judge Earth, to decide if humanity deserved to join the galactic community as an advanced predator world. Dr. Kim, Hyun-woo of Earth, announced the chamber's artificial voice system. "You may begin your presentation." Hyun-woo activated his holographic display. A three-dimensional image of a male lion appeared in the center of the chamber. The lion was in mid-roar, showing off its impressive mane and sharp teeth. "Honorable delegates," Hyun-woo began, his voice echoing through the vast space. "I present to you the African lion, Panthera leo, one of Earth's apex predators." The chamber filled with sounds that Hyun-woo's translator identified as laughter. The Vorthak made high-pitched ringing sounds. The Quilari hissed in rhythm. The Brelton created a sound like grinding metal that somehow conveyed amusement. Ambassador Quelix of the Vorthak hierarchy rose from his seat. When he spoke, his crystalline body resonated like a bell. "This creature stands barely 1 meter at the shoulder. Our younglings hunt prey larger than this for sport." Hyun-woo felt his face grow hot. He had expected some skepticism, but not outright mockery. He changed the display to show a Siberian tiger. "Perhaps this will be more impressive." The Siberian tiger, Panthera tigris altica, the largest cat predator on our planet. "They can weigh over 300 kilograms and—" "300 kilograms?" interrupted General Thorne of the Brelton Confederacy. His mechanical voice boomed through the chamber. "Our razor-claw hunters weigh 15,000 kilograms. They stand 15 meters tall. Their claws can slice through the hull of a battle cruiser." More laughter filled the chamber. Hyun-woo looked desperately at his colleague, Dr. Park So-young. She was standing at the side of the presentation area, holding a data tablet. She gave him an encouraging nod and gestured for him to continue. "Earth's predators may be smaller," Hyun-woo said, "but they have evolved unique hunting strategies and survival adaptations that—" "Adaptations?" This came from Ambassador Kasara of the Quilari hegemony, her serpentine body uncoiled as she spoke, displaying her full 20-foot length. "Dr. Kim, our shadow stalkers can become invisible to most sensor systems. They inject neurotoxins that can kill a Vorthak in seconds. What adaptations do these tiny Earth creatures possess that could possibly compare?" Hyun-woo cycled through more images. Grizzly bears, polar bears, wolves hunting in packs, great white sharks. Each image brought more sounds of alien amusement. "The great white shark," he said, showing footage of one breaching the water to catch a seal. "Carcharodon carcharias. They have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years because they are perfectly designed predators." "How large?" asked a delegate from the Zenthari collective. The Zenthari were insect-like creatures with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. The largest recorded specimen was approximately 6 meters long. The clicking from the Zenthari section grew so loud it nearly drowned out the translation system. Hyun-woo's earpiece finally managed to translate it as uncontrollable laughter. 6 meters? Clicked the Zenthari delegate. "Our Hive Guard warriors are 10 meters long and they are considered small by galactic standards." Ambassador Lee Dong-min, Earth's primary representative to the Galactic Council, stood up from his seat in the Earth delegation section. He was a career diplomat who had spent years preparing for this moment. Hyun-woo could see the frustration on his face. Honored delegates, Lee said in his most diplomatic voice. Perhaps we could focus on the behavioral aspects of Earth's predators, rather than just their physical size. Behavioral aspects? Ambassador Quellix's crystalline body shifted colors from blue to bright orange. Hyun-woo's cultural briefing had taught him that orange meant the Vorthak was extremely amused. What behaviors could creatures this small possibly exhibit that would impress this council? Dr. Park So-young stepped forward. She had studied xenobiology for 15 years and knew more about alien predators than anyone else on Earth. Our predators demonstrate remarkable intelligence, adaptability, and persistence. For example, Earth's wolves hunt in coordinated packs using complex strategies. Pack hunting? Interrupted General Thorne. The Brelton have been using advanced pack tactics for millennia. We coordinate attacks across entire star systems. Earth's predators also show incredible problem-solving abilities. So-young continued. They use tools, modify their environment, and adapt to changing conditions. A new voice spoke up from the chamber's upper levels. It belonged to one of the floating delegates, a species that lived in liquid-filled spheres. Dr. Park, our species has observed similar behaviors in creatures we use as livestock feed. Intelligence alone does not make a predator worthy of galactic recognition. The chamber erupted in agreement. Sounds of approval came from every section. Hyun-woo felt his heart sink as years of preparation seemed to crumble around him. Ambassador Lee tried one more approach. Esteemed colleagues, Earth's biosphere represents 4 billion years of evolutionary pressure. Every creature on our planet has been shaped by constant competition and survival challenges. This has created predators that may be small, but are incredibly efficient and adaptable. 4 billion years? Mused Ambassador Quellix. The Vorthak homeworld has been developing predators for 12 billion years. Time alone means nothing without results. The mockery was becoming unbearable. Delegates were no longer even pretending to pay attention to the presentation. Some were having side conversations. Others were checking their personal communication devices. Hyun-woo noticed his assistant, Choi Min-ho, quietly working at a secondary data terminal near the presentation area. Min-ho was uploading additional files to the display system. These were not part of the approved presentation. Min-ho, Hyun-woo whispered during a brief pause in the alien laughter. What are you doing? Min-ho looked up with a grim smile. Adding some insurance files, sir. Species data that you did not include in the main presentation. What species? The ones you thought were too small to mention, Min-ho replied. The ones that the council did not ask to see. Before Hyun-woo could ask more questions, Ambassador Quellix called for the council's attention. We have heard enough. Earth's petition for advanced predator world status is clearly premature. Perhaps in a few million years, when your creatures have evolved to proper sizes, you may reapply. General Thorne's mechanical laughter filled the chamber. I suggest we classify Earth as a garden world instead. These creatures would make amusing pets for our children. Imagine a Brelton youngling playing with one of these tiny tigers. The suggestion brought approving sounds from across the chamber. Several delegates began discussing the possibility of importing Earth animals as exotic pets. Ambassador Lee's face grew red with anger, but his diplomatic training held. The Earth delegation respectfully requests that the Council reconsider. We believe our presentation has not fully conveyed the unique aspects of our planetary ecosystem. The presentation is complete, declared Quellix. Unless you have additional predator species that somehow exceed what we have already observed. Hyun-woo looked at Min-ho, who was still working at his terminal. His assistant gave him a subtle nod. Actually, Hyun-woo said, there are a few species we did not include in the main presentation. More tiny cats? Asked Kezara with obvious amusement. Not exactly, Hyun-woo replied. He activated the backup files that Min-ho had prepared. These are what we call our smaller specialists. The first image appeared in the holographic display. It showed a small, stocky creature with black and white fur. It looked almost harmless compared to the lions and tigers they had been showing. This is Mellivora capensis, Hyun-woo said. Common name honey badger. It weighs approximately 12 kilograms. The laughter in the chamber reached new levels. Several delegates seemed to be having difficulty controlling themselves. 12 kilograms? Wheezed Ambassador Quellix through his crystalline laughter. What does this creature hunt? Insects? Actually, said Dr. Park So-young, honey badgers are known to hunt prey much larger than themselves. 3 months had passed since the disastrous presentation at the Galactic Council. Ambassador Kesara slithered through the corridors of her newly constructed research station, her scales shifting to pleased shades of purple and gold. The station orbited Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, and gave her a perfect view of the blue-green marble that was Earth. Kesara had volunteered for this assignment immediately after the council meeting. While her fellow Quillari had laughed at Earth's pathetic predators, she had seen an opportunity. These small, harmless creatures would make perfect subjects for her xenobiology research. She could study them safely, write papers about their primitive hunting methods, and advance her career by being the first scientist to document Earth's so-called apex predators. The research station was impressive by any standards. It stretched over 2 kilometers in length and contained the most advanced biological research facilities in the galaxy. Kesara had spared no expense. The station had gravity generators, atmospheric processors, and containment systems that could hold creatures 100 times more dangerous than anything Earth could produce. Dr. Velthar, her chief research scientist, approached with his daily report. Like all Quillari, he was over 20 feet long when fully extended, with brilliant green scales that marked him as a member of the scientist caste. "Ambassador," he said, his forked tongue tasting the air as he spoke. "The Earth specimens have arrived. The transport ship delivered them 2 hours ago." Kesara's scales brightened with excitement. "Excellent. Show me what we have acquired." They slithered together through the station's main research section. The containment area was enormous, with individual chambers that could hold creatures the size of small buildings. Most of the chambers were laughably oversized for their current occupants. In the first chamber, a pack of gray wolves paced nervously. The adult males were impressive specimens, but they barely reached Velthar's waist when he reared up to his full height. In the second chamber, 2 brown bears had been provided with a simulated forest environment. They were large for Earth creatures but looked like cubs compared to the Quillari scientists observing them. "These are their apex predators?" asked Dr. Silthera, another member of the research team. "They look like the small mammals we feed to our younglings." The most impressive specimen was in the third chamber. A full-grown male lion lay sleeping in a patch of artificial sunlight. His mane was magnificent by Earth standards, and his powerful muscles were clearly visible beneath his golden fur. "This one might actually pose a threat to a Quillari youngling," Velthar observed, though an adult would have no difficulty subduing it. Kesara was pleased with the specimens, but she wanted something more exotic for her research. Something that would make her papers stand out when she published them in the Journal of Xenobiology. She activated her communication system and contacted her Earth supplier. Young Taijun appeared on the holographic display. He was a black market wildlife trafficker who operated out of Southeast Asia. His reputation was questionable, but he could acquire specimens that legitimate sources would not provide. "Ambassador Kesara," Yang said with a greasy smile, "I trust you are satisfied with the delivery." "The specimens are adequate," Kesara replied, "but I require something more unusual. Something that will demonstrate the true nature of Earth's evolutionary development." Young's smile widened. "Ah, you want to see real Earth evolution in action? I have just the thing, but it will be expensive, very expensive. Cost is not an issue. What do you have?" "There is a creature that embodies everything unique about Earth's predatory evolution. Small but deadly, intelligent but savage. The perfect example of how our planet creates killers in unexpected packages." Kesara's scales shifted to interested yellow patterns. "Tell me more." "The locals call it the honey badger. Scientific name Mellivera capensis. It is not the largest predator or the fastest or the strongest, but it is something else entirely." "How large?" "Maybe 1 meter long. 12 kilograms at most. Looks like a harmless fur-bearing animal." Kesara's scales dulled with disappointment. "That sounds even smaller and more pathetic than the specimens you have already provided." Yang's expression became serious. "Ambassador, I have been trafficking Earth's wildlife for 20 years. I have handled tigers, bears, sharks, and venomous snakes, but there is only one creature that I will not keep on my property for more than a few hours." "The honey badger?" "The honey badger. They are not normal predators. They do not follow the rules that govern other animals. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They do not fear anything." Despite her skepticism, Kesara found herself curious. "Very well. Acquire one for my research. But if this creature proves to be as harmless as it appears, I will not be paying your full fee." 2 weeks later, the special transport container arrived at the research station. It was much smaller than the others, and seemed to contain nothing more threatening than a medium-sized earth mammal. Kesara and her research team gathered in the observation chamber as the container was opened remotely. Inside was a stocky creature with coarse black and white fur. It had small dark eyes, powerful claws, and an expression that somehow managed to look both bored and irritated. "This is what Yang claimed was so dangerous?" Dr. Velthar asked incredulously. The honey badger, who would later be named Beko by the horrified Korean observation teams monitoring the feeds, sat in the center of his transport container and looked around his new surroundings with what could only be described as mild interest. "It appears completely docile," observed Dr. Silthara. "Perhaps it is sedated." Kesara activated the containment chamber's monitoring systems. All vital signs appear normal. Heart rate elevated slightly, consistent with stress from transport but nothing abnormal. They had prepared a standard predator containment chamber for the honey badger. It was the same type used for the lions and bears, with transparent aluminum walls, environmental controls, and multiple safety systems. For a creature the size of the honey badger, it was absolutely escape-proof. "Let us conduct a behavioral assessment," Kesara decided. "We need to observe how this creature responds to various stimuli." The honey badger was transferred to the main containment chamber using automated systems. It explored its new environment methodically, checking every corner and examining the walls with its powerful claws. "Interesting," Velthar noted. "It appears to be mapping the chamber's layout." "Probably looking for food sources," Silthara suggested. "Primitive creatures often exhibit such behaviors when placed in new environments." Kesara wanted to see the honey badger's predatory instincts in action. She had acquired a shadow stalker from her homeworld for comparison purposes. The shadow stalker was a mid-level predator from Quilos Prime, standing about 3 times the honey badger's height at the shoulder. It was known for its speed, agility, and vicious temperament. "We will introduce the shadow stalker into the chamber," Kesara announced. "This will allow us to observe the honey badger's response to a superior predator." "Are you certain that is wise?" Velthar asked. "The size difference is considerable. The honey badger can retreat to the chamber's safe zone if it feels threatened," Kesara replied. "Besides, what harm could such a small creature possibly do to a shadow stalker?" The shadow stalker was a magnificent specimen. Its sleek black fur seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to focus on directly. Its eyes glowed with predatory intelligence and its claws were razor-sharp. When it entered the chamber, it immediately began stalking behavior, searching for prey. The honey badger noticed the shadow stalker's arrival but showed no signs of fear or submission. Instead, it turned to face the larger predator with what appeared to be curiosity. "Fascinating," Kesara murmured. "The honey badger does not recognize the threat level." The shadow stalker completed its assessment and determined that the honey badger was prey. It dropped into a hunting crouch and began its approach. This was a predator that had evolved to kill efficiently and quickly. What happened next would be recorded by the station's cameras and transmitted across the galaxy, changing everything that every species thought they knew about Earth's predators. The honey badger did not run. The honey badger did not hide. The honey badger did not submit. Instead, Beko looked at the approaching shadow stalker, made a sound that the translation systems could only render as annoyed chittering, and attacked. The shadow stalker was 3 times larger, faster, and armed with natural weapons that could slice through metal. It had every advantage that millions of years of evolution could provide. It lasted less than 30 seconds before it was running for its life, Beko, pursued with the relentless determination of a natural disaster. The honey badger climbed walls, squeezed through gaps that should have been too small, and refused to be deterred by any obstacle. Within an hour, the research station's most advanced containment system had been reduced to chaos. The shadow stalker was hiding in the chamber's highest corner, trembling with terror, while a 12-kilogram earth mammal systematically dismantled everything in the chamber that might provide shelter for its prey. "Turn off the experiment," Kesara ordered. "I cannot," Velthar replied, his scales showing panic patterns of bright red and white. "The honey badger has damaged the containment controls." Dr. Park So-young was sound asleep in her Seoul apartment when her emergency communication device began screaming at 3:47 in the morning. She rolled out of bed and stumbled to her desk, still wearing her pajamas. The device only activated for galactic-level emergencies. The message on her screen was simple but alarming. Emergency consultation requested. Research Station Helix 7. Subject: Earth specimen Mellivora capensis. Urgent assistance required. Station experiencing containment breach. So Young stared at the message for several seconds before the implications hit her. Someone had actually acquired a honey badger for research purposes, and now they were calling for help. She quickly dressed and activated her secure communication link to the Korean Space Command. Within minutes, she was connected to Admiral Yoon Ha-na, who was equally confused by the emergency alert. "Dr. Park," the Admiral said from her command center, "we are receiving priority transmissions from 17 different galactic civilizations. They all want to know about something called Mellivora capensis." "That is the scientific name for honey badger," So Young explained. "Someone has apparently acquired one for research and is now experiencing problems. What kind of problems could a single animal cause that would require galactic intervention?" So Young thought about how to explain honey badgers to someone who had never encountered one. "Admiral, imagine the most stubborn, fearless, and destructive creature you can think of. Now make it intelligent enough to solve complex problems and too angry to quit. That is a honey badger." By noon, the footage had leaked across the galactic communication networks. Every major civilization was analyzing the same incredible video files from Research Station Helix 7. On the Vorthak homeworld, military analyst Korigeth stood before the High Command's Strategic Planning Council. His crystalline body pulsed with excited energy as he replayed the footage for the 5th time. "Observe the tactical intelligence," he said, pointing to specific moments in the recording. "The creature systematically targets the chamber's power systems first. This prevents the Quillari from using their energy barriers." Grand Commander Zeftar leaned forward, his massive crystal form refracting the light into rainbow patterns. "Continue your analysis. Here, at time index 2.7 hours, watch how it uses debris as tools. It builds climbing aids to reach elevated positions. And notice this segment at 4.2 hours. It feigns injury to draw the Shadow Stalker into a trap." The assembled Vorthak military leaders fell silent. They were watching a creature smaller than their younglings demonstrate combat tactics that their own warriors would respect. "Most disturbing," Korigeth continued, "is the psychological warfare component. The honey badger does not attempt to kill the Shadow Stalker quickly. Instead, it establishes dominance through sustained terror. The Shadow Stalker becomes completely demoralized and ceases all resistance." "Recommendation?" asked Grand Commander Zeftar. "Immediate intelligence gathering on Earth's military doctrines. If their smallest predators demonstrate this level of tactical sophistication, their warfare capabilities may be far beyond our current assessments." Meanwhile, on the Brelton homeworld, General Thorne was experiencing his own moment of revelation. He had called an emergency meeting of the Confederacy's military leadership to review the honey badger footage. "I need to understand something," he announced to the assembled generals. "This creature sustained direct impacts that would disable our heavy infantry units. Then it continued attacking as if nothing had happened. The footage showed the honey badger taking hits from the Shadowstalker's claws that should have been lethal. Instead of collapsing, the honey badger seemed to become more aggressive." "General," asked his aide, "are you suggesting this Earth creature has superior defensive capabilities to our soldiers?" "I am suggesting," Thorne replied grimly, "that we may have seriously underestimated Earth's military potential. If their animals fight with this level of tenacity, what do their actual warriors do?" He issued new orders immediately. Full intelligence assessment of human military capabilities. Priority classification. I want to know everything about how Earth species conduct warfare. Back on Earth, Professor Kang Ji-hoon of Seoul National University was having the strangest day of his academic career. His phone had not stopped ringing since the footage appeared on the galactic networks. Every government agency, military organization, and research institution in the world wanted to talk to him about honey badgers. He found himself in an emergency session at the United Nations headquarters in New York, standing before a hastily assembled committee of world leaders and military officials. "Professor Kang," said the UN Secretary General, "we need to understand the implications of what happened on that research station. How dangerous are honey badgers really?" Ji-hoon activated his presentation system. Honey badgers are not typically considered among Earth's most dangerous animals. They rank somewhere around number 50 on most threat assessment lists. The room fell completely silent. Number 50? Asked the American Secretary of Defense. You mean there are 49 species that are more dangerous? At minimum, Ji-hoon confirmed. Depending on the criteria used, the number could be much higher. Admiral Yoon Ha-na, who had flown in from Seoul for the emergency meeting, raised her hand. Professor, could you show us your top 10 list? Ji-hoon's next slide made several officials visibly pale. The images showed creatures that looked like nightmares compared to the relatively harmless-appearing honey badger. Box jellyfish, he began. Nearly transparent, almost impossible to see in water. Their venom can kill a blue whale in minutes. The pain is so intense that victims often go into shock and drown before the venom kills them. He clicked to the next image. Blue-ringed octopus. Beautiful colors, very small, completely docile appearance. One bite contains enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. There is no antidote. The third image showed what looked like an ordinary brown snake. Inland taipan, the most venomous land snake on Earth. One bite contains enough toxin to kill 100 adult humans. These are your actual apex predators? Asked the British Prime Minister. These are just the venomous specialists, Ji-hoon replied. We also have large predators, pack hunters, ambush specialists, and parasitic species. Earth's ecosystem represents 4 billion years of evolutionary arms races. Every creature has had to become either incredibly dangerous or incredibly good at avoiding danger. How many dangerous species are we talking about? Asked the Chinese representative. Ji-hoon considered the question carefully. Depending on how you define dangerous, anywhere from several thousand to several 100,000 species. It depends on whether you include venomous insects, parasitic organisms, disease vectors, and plants. Plants? Several voices asked simultaneously. Some of our plants are extremely dangerous, Ji-hoon confirmed. The castor bean produces ricin. The manchineel tree is so toxic that standing under it during rain can cause severe burns. Even touching the bark can cause blistering. The Secretary General looked around the room at the shocked faces of world leaders. Professor, in your expert opinion, how will the galactic community react when they discover this information? Based on their reaction to a single honey badger, Ji-hoon said quietly, I think we can expect significant changes in how they view Earth. As if summoned by his words, an aide rushed into the room with an urgent message. Sir, we are receiving communication requests from 43 different galactic civilizations. They all want to send research teams to Earth immediately. Admiral Yoon looked at Professor Kang with a mixture of concern and amusement. It seems the galaxy has decided that Earth is more interesting than they originally thought. What do we tell them? Asked the Secretary General. Ji-hoon looked at the honey badger footage still playing on one of the room's screens. Baeko was systematically dismantling another section of the research station, while the terrified shadow stalker cowered in a corner. We tell them the truth, he said finally. That honey badger is not special by Earth standards. It is just persistent. If they want to see our actual dangerous species, they should be prepared for a very different kind of education. Outside the UN building, news crews from around the world were gathering. The story of Earth's hidden predators was spreading rapidly through human media. Social networks were exploding with discussions about local dangerous wildlife. In Australia, wildlife experts were fielding calls about their native species. In Brazil, researchers were being asked about rainforest predators. In Africa, biologists were explaining why they had never mentioned certain creatures to galactic researchers. The world was realizing that they had accidentally kept most of their dangerous wildlife secret from the galaxy. And now the galaxy wanted to know everything. Back on Research Station Helix 7, Baeko continued his systematic exploration of his new territory, completely unaware that he had just changed the course of galactic politics. He was simply doing what honey badgers do, refusing to be intimidated by anything, no matter how big or dangerous it might be. Within 2 weeks of the honey badger incident, Earth had become the most popular destination in the local galactic arm. Dr. Kim Yeon-soo, newly appointed head of the Korean Xenological Defense Institute, found herself managing the largest influx of alien visitors in human history. Her office in Seoul was chaos. Communication requests came in every few minutes from species she had never heard of. Everyone wanted to study Earth's predators, Everyone wanted to understand how such a seemingly peaceful planet had produced creatures capable of terrorizing galactic predators. The first delegation to arrive was from the Vorthak hierarchy. Science Commander Zeftal brought a team of military analysts disguised as xenobiologists. They claimed to want to study Earth's apex predators in their natural environment. Hyunsu assigned them to Dr. Lim Sang-wook, a marine biologist who specialized in dangerous oceanic species. She thought it would be educational for the crystalline aliens to see what Earth's oceans contained. Lim met the Vorthak delegation at the Busan Marine Research Station. Commander Zeftal towered over the human scientists, his crystal body refracting the morning sunlight into brilliant patterns. "Dr. Lim," Zeftal said through his translator, "we wish to observe your most lethal oceanic predator. Our analysis suggests your great white shark would be equivalent to our void swimmers." Lim smiled and began putting on thick protective gear. "Commander, we are not here to see great white sharks today." "No?" Zeftal's crystal body shifted to confused blue patterns. "But surely the great white is your apex oceanic predator." "The great white shark is certainly impressive," Lim agreed as he pulled on reinforced gloves. "But it is not our most dangerous marine creature. Not even close." He led the Vorthak delegation onto a research vessel. As they sailed toward the open ocean, Lim began his explanation. "Commander, Earth's truly dangerous marine predators are not the large ones. Size often makes creatures easier to detect and avoid. Our most deadly oceanic species are nearly invisible." The boat stopped in seemingly empty water off the Queensland coast. Lim activated a containment field in the water and carefully deployed a collection device. "What are you looking for?" asked one of Zeftal's scientists. "This," Lim said, holding up a containment unit no larger than his thumb. Inside, floating in seawater, was what looked like a piece of transparent plastic wrap. The Vorthak delegation leaned closer to examine the specimen. Even with their enhanced vision systems, they could barely see it. "This is Carukia barnesi," Lim announced. "The Irukandji jellyfish. It measures approximately 1 cubic centimeter in volume." "That microscopic organism is a predator?" Zeftal asked incredulously. "This microscopic organism," Lim replied, "produces venom capable of killing a blue whale. Multiple blue whales, actually." The Vorthak scientists began taking frantic measurements. Their instruments confirmed that the creature was indeed almost impossibly small. "The venom contains multiple toxins," Lim continued. "The initial sting is nearly painless, so victims do not realize they have been attacked. Then comes Irukandji syndrome." "What is Irukandji syndrome?" asked another Vorthak scientist. "Excruciating pain throughout the entire body. Cardiac arrest, pulmonary edema, high blood pressure that can cause brain hemorrhages, and most disturbing of all, an overwhelming psychological sense of impending doom so powerful that victims beg to be killed to escape it." The Vorthak delegation fell completely silent. Their crystal bodies had shifted to dark purple patterns that Lim recognized as extreme concern. "This single organism could kill how many of our people?" Zeftal asked quietly. Lim did some quick calculations. "Based on your body mass and the toxin concentrations, probably 30 to 40 Vorthak warriors per jellyfish." "And these creatures are common in your oceans?" "Very common. They often hunt in swarms of hundreds or thousands, and they are nearly impossible to see in the water, even with advanced detection equipment." Commander Zeftal immediately activated his emergency communication system to contact his homeworld. The message was brief. "Recommend immediate upgrade of Earth threat assessment. Their apex predators are not what we expected." Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, the Brelton delegation was having their own revelations. General Thorne had requested to observe human military training, convinced that understanding human warfare tactics would explain how their species had evolved such effective predators. Colonel Park Jun-ho of the Republic of Korea Marine Corps found himself giving a tour to creatures that stood 3 meters tall and were armed with natural weapon systems that could punch through starship hulls. "General Thorne," Jun-ho said as they stood on an observation deck overlooking a training facility, "you asked to see how humans conduct warfare. What you are about to observe may seem primitive compared to your technology, but please pay attention to the tactical concepts." Below them, Korean special forces were conducting urban warfare simulations. The soldiers moved through a mock city environment, clearing buildings and engaging simulated enemies. "They appear small and fragile," observed one of Thorne's lieutenants. How do they compensate for their physical limitations? Watch their movement patterns, Junho instructed. Humans are persistence hunters. We do not rely on overwhelming strength or individual combat superiority. We coordinate as groups and we never stop pursuing our objectives. The Brelton delegation watched as the human soldiers demonstrated complex tactical maneuvers. Teams of 4 to 6 individuals moved with perfect coordination, communicating constantly and adapting to changing situations. Notice how they fight, Junho continued. They do not engage in individual combat unless absolutely necessary. Every action is coordinated with their unit. When one soldier is injured, the others compensate immediately. One of the soldiers in the exercise was hit by simulated enemy fire and declared dead by the training supervisors. However, he continued to provide intelligence and coordination to his team via radio communications. This soldier continues to function despite mortal injury? General Thorne asked. Standard protocol, Junho replied casually. Humans fight until complete biological death, sometimes beyond that if they have prepared properly. Beyond biological death, dead soldiers can still trigger explosives, provide intelligence, or serve as decoys. We have documented cases of humans continuing to fight effectively for several minutes after sustaining injuries that should have been immediately fatal. The Brelton delegation began taking extensive notes. Their species prided itself on individual combat prowess, but they were observing tactical concepts that they had never considered. General, Junho continued, human military doctrine is based on the assumption that we are individually weaker than our enemies. Everything we do is designed to overcome superior individual opponents through coordination, persistence, and tactical intelligence. What is the longest pursuit operation your military has ever conducted? Asked one of the Brelton officers. Junho thought for a moment. There are documented cases of human military units pursuing objectives for years, decades in some instances. We have soldiers who have spent their entire careers hunting individual targets. Years? General Thorne's mechanical voice conveyed disbelief. Your species will pursue a single objective for years? General, humans hunted woolly mammoths to extinction using stone tools and persistence. We tracked individual animals across entire continents until they died of exhaustion. That same mentality applies to our military operations. As the training exercise concluded, Junho led the Brelton delegation to a briefing room where they could review tactical footage from actual human conflicts. This footage shows human units operating in hostile territory for extended periods, he explained as the videos played. Note how they adapt to enemy tactics, learn from each engagement, and modify their approaches. The Brelton watched humans fighting in jungles, deserts, urban environments, and mountain terrain. In every case, the human forces demonstrated the same characteristics: adaptability, persistence, and coordination. Your species appears to treat warfare as a learning exercise, observed General Thorne. Every conflict teaches us something new, Junho agreed. Humans do not have instinctive fighting behaviors like many species. We learn tactics, adapt them to new situations, and pass that knowledge to the next generation. What happens when humans encounter an enemy they cannot defeat through conventional tactics? Junho smiled grimly. We change the rules. Humans are very good at finding new ways to solve old problems. By the end of the day, General Thorne was composing his own emergency report to the Brelton High Command. Earth species demonstrate combat doctrines that exceed our strategic assessments. Recommend immediate tactical analysis of human warfare methods. Their approach to conflict may be applicable to our own military development. Back in Seoul, Dr. Kim Yeon-soo was receiving reports from both delegations. The Vorthak wanted to study more of Earth's microscopic predators. The Brelton requested access to human military academies and training programs, and both groups had submitted formal requests to extend their research missions indefinitely. How many more delegations are scheduled to arrive? She asked her assistant. 17 more confirmed with 32 additional requests pending approval, came the reply. Yeon-soo looked out. Ambassador Lee Dong-min had attended many emergency sessions of the Galactic Council, but never one quite like this. The Great Chamber was filled with nervous energy, as delegates from 47 different species demanded answers about the ongoing situation at Research Station Helix 7. The problem was simple. One honey badger had somehow taken control of an entire research facility, and no one could figure out how to stop it. Ambassador Lee, called out Grand Commander Zeftar of the Vorthak hierarchy. Explain to this council how a single Earth creature has maintained control of a Quillari research station for 3 weeks. Lee looked down at his briefing notes, prepared by Dr. Choi Min-ho, who had become Earth's chief advisor on honey badger behavior. The information was both fascinating and terrifying. Honorable delegates, Lee began. The creature you call Baiko has demonstrated capabilities that our scientists find remarkable, even by Earth standards. He activated the holographic display, showing recent footage from the station. Baiko had somehow learned to operate the facility's basic systems, and had expanded his territory to include most of the research levels. As you can see, Lee continued, the honey badger has gained access to the station's fabrication units and is constructing specialized tools. The footage showed Baiko using the station's matter synthesizers to create climbing equipment perfectly designed for the facility's architecture. The tools were crude but effective, and they demonstrated a level of problem-solving that made the galactic observers very uncomfortable. It is building technology, observed General Thorne with obvious concern. This Earth creature is adapting alien technology for its own purposes. Ambassador Kesara, who had finally been rescued from her own research station, spoke from her position with the Quillari delegation. The creature has also demonstrated the ability to learn our operational procedures. It understands which systems control life support, which control communications, and which control containment. The most disturbing footage came next. Baiko had discovered the station's specimen storage area, where the other Earth animals were being kept in cryogenic suspension for future research. What is it doing now? Asked a delegate from the Zenthari collective. Dr. Choi Min-ho, participating in the session via holographic projection from Seoul, provided the explanation. The honey badger is systematically reviving the other Earth specimens. It appears to understand that they are members of its planetary ecosystem. The council watched in stunned silence as Baiko used the station's medical systems to safely wake up the wolves, bears, and other predators. The honey badger somehow knew which controls to activate and in what sequence. How is this possible? Demanded Ambassador Quelix. How does an Earth creature understand Quillari technology? Honey badgers are remarkably intelligent, Minho explained. They are one of the few species on Earth that regularly uses tools in the wild. They can solve complex puzzles, remember detailed information, and adapt to new situations very quickly. But this level of technological adaptation suggests intelligence comparable to our own species, protested one of the Brelton representatives. Dr. Minho, Lee said, please show the council the latest footage. The new images were even more alarming. The research station was no longer dealing with one persistent predator. It was dealing with a coordinated group of Earth's apex predators, all working together under Baiko's apparent leadership. The wolves had established pack territories in the upper decks and were patrolling in organized groups. The bears had claimed the lower levels and were using the fabrication units to build improved denning areas. The big cats were roaming freely throughout the mid-levels, marking territory and establishing hunting grounds. And Baiko moved between all of these territories without conflict, apparently serving as coordinator and commander for the entire group. They have created a functional ecosystem inside our research station, Kesara reported with obvious distress. The Earth creatures are not fighting each other. They are cooperating. This is unprecedented, declared General Thorne. Predator species from the same planet typically compete for resources. How are they maintaining peaceful coexistence? Minho had studied the behavioral footage extensively. Honey badgers are naturally solitary, but they are also highly adaptable. Baiko appears to have recognized that the other Earth species are allies rather than competitors in this environment. He has established himself as the group's problem solver and decision-maker. The council chamber erupted in concerned discussion. Multiple species were talking at once, creating a cacophony of clicks, hisses, mechanical sounds, and other forms of communication. Ambassador Quelix called for order. Dr. Minho, what are Earth's recommendations for resolving this situation? Minho looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Quelix, I am not certain that this situation can be resolved in the way you hope. Explain. Honey badgers are notorious for never abandoning territory once they have claimed it. And now Baiko has established the research station as his territory. More importantly, he has allies to help him defend it. Are you suggesting that Earth's creatures intend to keep our research station permanently? Kisara asked with obvious alarm. I am suggesting, Minho replied carefully, that any attempt to remove them by force would be inadvisable. Earth predators become significantly more dangerous when they feel threatened. As if summoned by his words, the main display activated with an incoming transmission from Research Station Helix 7. The source was the station's primary communication array. The image that appeared made the entire council fall silent. Beko sat in the station's command chair, having somehow activated the communication system. Behind him, clearly visible, were several of the other Earth predators. A pack of wolves stood at attention like an honor guard. 2 massive bears flanked the command console. A lion rested casually near the main display. For 30 seconds, the most powerful political body in the galaxy stared at a honey badger who stared back with calm confidence. Then Beko made a sound that the translation systems rendered as satisfied chittering and cut the transmission. Did that Earth creature just communicate with us? Asked the Zenthari delegate. I believe, said Ambassador Lee slowly, that it just announced its presence as the new commander of Research Station Helix 7. General Thorne's mechanical voice carried a note of what might have been respect. It is claiming the station as its territory and demonstrating that it has the force necessary to defend that claim. The implications hit the Council immediately. Earth's predators were not just dangerous. They were intelligent, organized, and apparently capable of establishing their own independent political entity. What are Earth's terms for negotiation? Asked Grand Commander Zeftar. Lee consulted with Minho via their private communication link before responding. Dr. Minho suggests that any negotiations should be conducted directly with Beko. He is clearly the decision-maker for the group. You want us to negotiate with an animal? Protested Kisara. With respect, Ambassador Kisara, Lee replied. Beko has demonstrated strategic thinking, technological adaptation, leadership skills, and the ability to communicate across species barriers. By any reasonable definition, he qualifies as a sapient being. The council chamber fell into stunned silence as the delegates absorbed this information. Earth had not only surprised them with the effectiveness of its predators. Now they were being asked to recognize one of those predators as a legitimate political entity. We need time to consider this development, declared Ambassador Quelix. Of course, Lee agreed. But I should mention that Dr. Minho has detected increased activity on the station's communication systems. It appears that Beko is attempting to contact other locations. What other locations? We believe he is trying to reach Earth. The chamber erupted in alarm as the delegates realized that Earth's most persistent predator was not content with conquering one research station. He wanted to make contact with his home planet, presumably to coordinate with other members of his species. The honey badger incident was no longer a simple containment breach. It had become a potential first contact scenario between Earth's wildlife and the galactic community. And everyone was beginning to realize that Earth's creatures might be better at galactic politics than anyone had expected. 6 months after what historians would later call the honey badger revolution, the Galactic Species Council convened for the most unusual session in its 12,000-year history. The Great Chamber had been reconfigured to accommodate a very special guest. Ambassador Li Dongmin stood at the primary podium, but all eyes were focused on the secondary communication platform, where a live holographic projection showed Research Station Helix 7. In the station's command chair sat Beko, now officially recognized as the independent commander of the Helix territory. The agenda was simple: Earth's formal reclassification from Garden World to Apex Predator World, and the establishment of diplomatic relations with the first non-humanoid Earth representative to address the galactic community. Honorable delegates, Lee began. 6 months ago, this council dismissed Earth's predators as too small and harmless to warrant serious consideration. Today we gather to formally acknowledge that our initial assessment was incorrect. The chamber was remarkably quiet compared to previous sessions. Gone were the sounds of alien laughter and dismissive comments. The delegates who had once mocked Earth's creatures now watched the holographic honey badger with something approaching respect. General Thorne spoke first for the Brelton Confederacy. His mechanical voice carried a note of grudging admiration. The Brelton military leadership withdraws our previous assessment of Earth's combat capabilities. We have completed extensive analysis of human warfare tactics and Earth predator behavior. Both exceed our strategic projections. He gestured toward his delegation's prepared report. Human military doctrine combines persistence hunting with technological adaptation in ways that our own forces have never encountered. Their approach to conflict resolution is both innovative and highly effective. Ambassador Quelix of the Vorthak hierarchy was next to speak. His crystalline body showed patterns of blue and green, indicating formal respect. The Vorthak hierarchy acknowledges that our understanding of predator classification requires revision. Earth's apex predators demonstrate capabilities that do not correlate with body mass or traditional threat indicators. He paused, looking directly at Bako's image. We have also learned that intelligence and persistence can be more dangerous than size and strength. The most difficult admission came from Ambassador Kasara of the Quillari hegemony. Her scale showed patterns of embarrassment and concern as she addressed the council. The Quillari delegation formally requests forgiveness for our unauthorized specimen collection activities. We acknowledge that our research methods were inappropriate and that we seriously underestimated the subjects of our study. She looked toward the Earth delegation. We also formally recognize Commander Bako's claim to Research Station Helix 7 and request permission to establish diplomatic relations with the Helix territory. The request was unprecedented. Never before had the galactic community been asked to recognize an animal as an independent political entity. But the evidence was overwhelming. Bako had successfully established and maintained control of a sophisticated research facility, coordinated multiple species into a functioning society, and demonstrated the ability to communicate across species barriers. Dr. Choi Min-ho, now serving as Earth's chief xenobiological advisor and official translator for Honey Badger communications, stood to address the council. Commander Bako has asked me to convey his appreciation for the council's recognition, Min-ho announced. He wishes to establish formal trade and research agreements with any species interested in peaceful cooperation. What does the commander have to offer for trade? Asked a delegate from the Merchant Guild of Altair. Min-ho consulted his notes, which were based on hours of careful observation and interpretation of Bako's actions. The Helix territory has become a unique research environment where multiple Earth predator species coexist peacefully. Commander Bako is willing to allow scientific observation of this ecosystem in exchange for technological resources and territorial protection. The offer was remarkable. Earth's predators had created something that galactic scientists had never seen, a multi-species predator community that functioned without internal conflict. Additionally, Min-ho continued, Commander Bako has developed several innovations in space station management and resource allocation that may be of interest to other civilizations. This was true. Bako's modifications to the research station had improved efficiency in several key areas. His pack-based organization system had optimized resource distribution, and his territorial management approach had reduced conflicts between different groups. Grand Commander Zeftar requested permission to address Commander Bako directly. Min-ho activated the communication link, and the Honey Badger's attention focused on the massive Vorthak leader. Commander Bako, Zeftar said formally, the Vorthak hierarchy wishes to propose a research exchange agreement. We would like to learn from your territorial management methods. Bako listened to the translation through Min-ho, then responded with a series of chittering sounds and gestures. Min-ho interpreted the response. Commander Bako accepts the proposal in principle, but insists that any Vorthak researchers assigned to the Helix territory must respect the established pack hierarchies and territorial boundaries. Agreed, Zeftar replied immediately. Similar requests came from dozens of other species. Everyone wanted to study the impossible ecosystem that Earth's predators had created. More importantly, they wanted to learn from Bako's leadership methods. The formal vote on Earth's reclassification was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, a planet's predator status had been upgraded based on intelligence and adaptability, rather than size and physical strength. But the most significant moment came when Ambassador Lee made an unexpected announcement. The Earth government wishes to inform the Council that we are establishing the Terran Xenological Exchange, he said. This will be a network of research stations throughout the local galactic arm, staffed by human advisors and defended by selected Earth species. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Earth was not just joining the galactic community. They were offering to share their most dangerous creatures as protection and research subjects. Each station will be commanded by a different Earth predator species, Lee continued. We believe this will provide valuable insights into various approaches to territorial management and interspecies cooperation. General, Thorne immediately requested assignment of a Brelton research team to whatever station would be commanded by Earth's pack hunters. The Vorthak wanted to study the station that would be managed by Earth's most intelligent predators. The Kalari somewhat nervously requested access to the station that would house Earth's most venomous species. As the session concluded, long-range sensors detected new activity from Research Station Helix 7. Beko had activated the communication array again, but this time he was not contacting the Council or Earth. He was broadcasting to the galaxy at large. The message was simple but profound. A series of images showing the various Earth predators working together in perfect harmony. Wolves coordinating patrol schedules with big cats, bears sharing fabricated resources with smaller predators, all species responding to Beko's leadership without conflict or competition. The final image showed Beko himself, sitting calmly in the command chair with his diverse pack surrounding him. The message was clear to every species in the galaxy. Earth's creatures were not just dangerous individually. They could work together, learn from each other, and adapt to any challenge. Dr. Park So-young, monitoring the broadcast from Seoul, realized that Beko was doing something remarkable. He was advertising Earth's capabilities to the entire galaxy, demonstrating that the planet's predators were available as allies rather than just threats. Within hours, the Terran Xenological Exchange was receiving applications from civilizations they had never heard of. Species from distant star systems wanted to establish research partnerships. Minor galactic powers were requesting Earth predators as advisors for their own territorial disputes. How many applications are we processing? Dr. Kim Yeon-soo asked her administrative staff. Over 3,000 confirmed requests, came the reply, and the number is growing by the hour. 1 year later, the transformation was complete. Earth operated 17 research stations throughout the local galactic arm. Each facility was unique, reflecting the personality and management style of its Earth commander. Station Helix 7 remained under Beko's control and had become the unofficial diplomatic center for interspecies negotiations. The honey badger's persistence and refusal to be intimidated made him an excellent mediator for territorial disputes. Station Wolf Prime was commanded by a pack of gray wolves and specialized in coordinated defense strategies. 3 civilizations had requested permanent military advisors from the pack leaders. Station Bear Alpha housed polar and grizzly bears who had developed innovative approaches to resource management and long-term territorial planning. Their methods were being studied by economists throughout the galaxy. Station Venom Central was the most carefully guarded facility, managed by representatives of Earth's most toxic species. The blue-ringed octopus, box jellyfish, and various venomous snakes had established the galaxy's first biological warfare research center dedicated entirely to defensive applications. Dr. Kim Hyun-woo, now Director of Galactic Predator Studies, maintained regular contact with all 17 stations. His job had evolved from presenting Earth's creatures to the galaxy into managing the most successful diplomatic initiative in human history. Status report from all stations? He asked during his weekly briefing. All stations report normal operations, his aide replied. Commander Beko has established trade agreements with 6 new civilizations this week. The Wolf Pack at Station Wolf Prime has been requested to mediate a border dispute between the Zenthari and the Altarians, and the bears at Station Bear Alpha have developed a new resource allocation system that's being implemented by the Merchant Guild. The most remarkable development was happening on Earth itself. The galactic community's newfound respect for Earth's predators had led to unprecedented conservation efforts. Species that had been endangered were now protected by interstellar treaty. Habitats that had been threatened were now preserved as galactic heritage sites. Ambassador Quelix, Professor Kang Ji-hoon said during a recent diplomatic visit. You asked me once how Earth evolved such dangerous creatures while humans remained reasonable. The Vorthak ambassador's crystalline body showed attentive blue patterns. I remember the question. The answer is that we learned to coexist with them, Ji-hoon explained. Every human child grows up knowing that there are creatures on our planet that could kill them easily. This teaches us respect, caution, and the importance of cooperation. He gestured toward a window that showed Seoul's skyline, now dotted with alien observation posts and research facilities. We discovered that the most dangerous predators can become the most valuable allies if you treat them properly. Ambassador Quelix considered this wisdom. And now you are teaching the galaxy this same lesson. Not us, Ji-hoon corrected. Them. He activated a communication screen showing live feeds from several Earth-managed stations. In each one, Earth predators were working alongside alien researchers, solving problems, mediating conflicts, and establishing new forms of interspecies cooperation. They are teaching the galaxy that strength comes in many forms, that intelligence matters more than size, that persistence can overcome any obstacle, and that the most effective societies are those where different species work together, instead of competing. On Research Station Helix 7, Baiko was conducting his daily territory inspection. The station had expanded into a massive complex housing representatives from dozens of galactic civilizations. Each species had been assigned appropriate quarters and responsibilities based on their capabilities and needs. The wolves maintained security and patrol schedules. The bears managed resource allocation and long-term planning. The big cats served as liaison officers between different groups. And Baiko coordinated everything from his command center, making decisions and solving problems with the patient persistence that had made him famous throughout the galaxy. As he completed his rounds, Baiko settled into his command chair and activated the communication system. He had learned to use the technology fluently and maintained regular contact with both Earth and the various alien civilizations. His message that day was brief but significant. It was transmitted simultaneously to Earth's government, the Galactic Council, and every research station in the Terran Xenological Exchange Network. The translation was simple. Territory secure. Pack healthy. Mission continuing. Back on Earth, Dr. Choi Minho received the message and smiled. Baiko was doing exactly what honey badgers had always done. He was defending his territory, protecting his allies, and refusing to give up. The only difference was that now his territory included half the galaxy. And across the stars, the phrase "never underestimate Earth" had become the fundamental principle of interstellar diplomacy. Because the galaxy had learned that humans were not the most dangerous predators on their planet. They were simply the ones who had made friends with all the others. The Honey Badger Revolution was complete. 5 years after the Honey Badger Revolution, Earth had become the most influential planet in the local galactic arm. Dr. Kim Hyun-woo stood in his office overlooking Seoul, watching alien ships come and go from the expanded spaceport that now served as the headquarters for the Terran Xenological Exchange. The transformation had been remarkable. What began as one persistent honey badger refusing to be intimidated had grown into a galactic network of cooperation and mutual understanding. His communication system chimed with an incoming priority message from Research Station Helix 7. Baiko's image appeared on the screen, now familiar to billions of beings across dozens of star systems. Through Dr. Choi Minho, who served as permanent translator, Baiko was reporting on the latest diplomatic success. 2 warring civilizations that had been fighting for centuries had agreed to a peace treaty mediated by the Helix Territory's unique multi-species council. Commander Baiko wants you to know that the Zerion-Altaean conflict has been resolved, Minho translated from the station. Both sides have agreed to establish research colonies modeled after our Earth predator management system. Hyun-woo shook his head in amazement. A honey badger had become one of the galaxy's most successful peacekeepers, simply by applying the same stubborn persistence that had originally terrified a research station full of Quilari scientists. The success had not gone unnoticed by Earth's governments. President Park Min-jung of the United Earth Council had just returned from a diplomatic tour that included visits to 12 different star systems. Every civilization wanted to establish formal relations with the planet that had produced such effective mediators. Dr. Kim, his assistant announced, you have a call from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Quelix wants to discuss the expansion proposal. The expansion proposal was ambitious even by Earth standards. The galactic community had formally requested that Earth establish 50 additional research stations throughout the galaxy. Each would be managed by different Earth species and would serve as centers for conflict resolution, scientific research, and interspecies cooperation. Hyun-woo accepted the call and Ambassador Quellix's crystalline form appeared in holographic projection. The Vorthek diplomat's body showed patterns of deep respect, a dramatic change from the mockery he had displayed years earlier. "Dr. Kim," Quellix said, "the Galactic Council has unanimously approved the expansion request. We are prepared to provide unlimited resources for the establishment of new Earth-managed territories." "That is very generous, Ambassador," Hyunwoo replied. "But we need to ensure that we have suitable Earth representatives for each station. Not every species is as naturally diplomatic as Commander Baiko." This was true. While the honey badger's persistence made him an excellent mediator, other Earth predators had different strengths. The dolphins at Station Aquatic 7 were brilliant at complex problem-solving, but sometimes got distracted by interesting puzzles. The octopi at Station Cephalopod Prime were incredibly intelligent, but preferred to work alone rather than in groups. "We have studied your species allocation methods," Quellix continued. "The diversity of approaches is actually advantageous. Different conflicts require different types of mediation." He activated a display showing conflict zones throughout the galaxy. For example, the Merchant Guild disputes require the careful resource management skills of your bear species. Military conflicts benefit from the pack coordination tactics of your wolves, and territorial disputes are best handled by species like Commander Baeko, who simply refuse to accept failure. The success stories were impressive. Station Wolf Prime had resolved a border conflict that had lasted for 3 centuries. Station Bear Alpha had developed economic policies that ended resource wars between 6 different civilizations. Station Venom Central had created defensive technologies that made aggressive expansion pointless for warlike species. But the most remarkable achievement belonged to Baeko himself. The honey badger had somehow convinced 12 different predator species from various star systems to establish a joint research colony near Station Helix 7. Former enemies were now working together on scientific projects, using Earth's multi-species cooperation model as their template. "How does he do it?" General Thorne had asked during a recent visit to the station. "How does one small Earth creature convince beings who have been fighting for millennia to work together?" Dr. Park So-young, who had studied Baeko's methods extensively, had an answer. "He does not try to convince them to stop being predators. He convinces them to redirect their predatory instincts toward solving problems instead of fighting each other." This was the key to Earth's success in galactic diplomacy. Rather than trying to change the nature of aggressive species, Earth's predators showed them how to use their natural instincts productively. The wolves taught pack coordination to species that had never learned to work in groups. The bears demonstrated how predatory resource hoarding could be transformed into efficient distribution systems. The honey badgers showed that persistence and refusal to surrender could be applied to peace negotiations as effectively as to hunting. "Dr. Kim," Ambassador Quellix continued, "there is one more request from the Galactic Council. We would like Earth to consider establishing a permanent diplomatic academy." "A diplomatic academy?" "Young beings from across the galaxy would come to Earth to study with your predator species. They would learn cooperation, persistence, adaptability, and conflict resolution from the masters themselves." The idea was intriguing. Earth's predators had proven to be better teachers than anyone had expected. The alien researchers who worked on Earth-managed stations consistently developed better problem-solving skills, improved cooperation abilities, and more effective approaches to challenging situations. "I will need to consult with our predator representatives," Hyunwoo said diplomatically. "Each species will need to agree to serve as instructors." "Of course. But Dr. Kim, please understand that this request comes from civilizations across the galaxy. Every major species wants their young people to learn from Earth's predators." After ending the call, Hyunwoo sat back in his chair and considered the remarkable journey that had brought them to this point. It had started with mockery and dismissal. Earth's creatures had been considered too small, too weak, and too primitive to matter in galactic affairs. Now those same creatures were teaching the galaxy how to resolve conflicts, manage resources, and build cooperative societies. His thoughts were interrupted by another communication from Station Helix 7. This time it was not from Baeko, but from one of the alien researchers working under his command. Science Officer Velthar of the Quillari hegemony appeared on the screen. He was the same scientist who had originally mocked the honey badger as a harmless creature. Now he served as Baeko's chief research coordinator, and had become one of the galaxy's leading experts on interspecies cooperation. Dr. Kim, Velthar said, I wanted to report on the success of our latest project. We have successfully established communication protocols between species with completely different sensory systems. The breakthrough came when Commander Bako suggested that we focus on problem-solving cooperation rather than direct language translation. This was typical of Earth predator solutions. Rather than trying to force different species to think alike, they found ways for different types of thinking to work together effectively. Excellent work, Science Officer, Hyunwoo replied. How is Commander Bako adjusting to his expanded responsibilities? He seems to enjoy the challenges, Velthar said with what might have been amusement. Yesterday, he mediated a dispute between two species that communicate through electromagnetic fields and another that uses biochemical signals. He made them work together by giving them a problem that required both types of communication to solve. And it worked. They are now planning a joint research project to develop new forms of interspecies communication technology. This was the essence of Bako's approach to diplomacy. He did not try to make different species understand each other. He made them need each other by creating situations where cooperation was more effective than conflict. As the day ended, Hyunwoo received one final message. This one came directly from Earth's wildlife preservation networks. Since the galactic community had begun recognizing Earth's predators as valuable allies, conservation efforts had reached unprecedented levels. Honey badger populations were now protected by interstellar treaty. Habitat preservation was funded by galactic research grants, and several species that had been endangered were now thriving under alien protection programs. The galaxy had learned to value Earth's predators not just as research subjects or diplomatic mediators, but as irreplaceable components of a unique evolutionary system. Dr. Choi Min-ho sent his daily report from Station Helix 7. Bako's territory had grown again, now encompassing 3 connected research facilities and housing representatives from 47 different civilizations. The honey badger had become the unofficial governor of the most diverse society in known space. What is his secret? Hyunwoo had asked Min-ho during a recent conversation. He treats every problem the same way, Min-ho had replied, with absolute determination to solve it. He does not care how big the problem is, how complex it is, or how many others have failed to solve it before. He just keeps working at it until he finds a solution. And that works for diplomacy? Most conflicts exist because people give up trying to find solutions. Bako never gives up. Eventually, his persistence forces everyone else to keep trying too, until they finally discover ways to work together. It was a simple philosophy, but it had changed the galaxy. Earth's predators had taught countless civilizations that the most effective approach to any problem was to refuse to accept failure and keep trying new solutions until something worked. As Hyunwoo prepared to leave his office, he looked out at the stars visible above Seoul's lights. Somewhere out there, Bako was settling in for another night of territorial management, problem-solving, and stubborn refusal to let conflicts remain unsolved. The honey badger had no idea that he had become the most famous Earth creature in galactic history. He was simply doing what honey badgers did, defending his territory, protecting his allies, and never giving up. But his territory now included half the known galaxy. His allies came from dozens of star systems, and his definition of never giving up had inspired a new era of interspecies cooperation. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's predators. Now they looked to them for leadership. And somewhere in the vast complexity of Research Station Helix 7, a small black and white creature sat in a command chair, planning tomorrow's diplomatic schedule with the same determined persistence that had once terrorized a single research facility. The honey badger revolution had become the honey badger golden age, and it showed no signs of ending.